Hello, guys, and welcome to part two of the Spanish American War. And we know that obviously in the last slide says that the United States won an easy victory, but most of the casualties were really due to disease and poor food and all sorts of things like that. One of the places that the United States took over from Spain was the Philippines. And you can see in the highlight here Dewey smashes Spain's fleet. Took a few hours, and Dewey's fleet apparently just completely wiped out what was remained of the Spain's fleet. And the Philippines, they vehemently at the time disliked Spanish rule. I wouldn't imagine anyone would really like to be, controlled by other people. And when the United States originally came in, they were welcomed as saviors. The Filipino people, oh, thank goodness, this is great. Or thank you for getting rid of, the evil Spanish for us. You guys are just the greatest. And like we said, George Dewey led the U.S. fleet into Manila Bay, destroyed the entire Spanish fleet in a matter of hours, and things were looking good. Woohoo! Everyone's so happy. However, unfortunately, after the Spanish were kicked out, the USA did not behave like a sailor. In fact, the U.S. Treated the Filipino people very, very poorly. And unfortunately, this led to the 2-year American Filipino War, which was extremely costly. The U.S. lost troops, and the Filipino people lost thousands and thousands and thousands of troops. Obviously, when eventually we become friends, and to this day, the United States and the Philippines are considered very good friends. Although recently the relationship has been deteriorating a little bit just because of the President Duterte of the Philippines, but we'll see how that goes. So the moral of the story is that even though when we came to the Philippines, we liberated it, the United States did, from the Spanish who were really mistreating the Filipinos, but then the United States practically did the same thing. And so really, I mean, it's just such a sad occurrence. Puerto Rico and Guam. Well, there's a beautiful Guam. It is a very small island, but the USA did acquire Puerto Rico and Guam, both of which, of course, were former Spanish colonies, I should say. It was kind of weird with Guam. Apparently, they didn't really know that there was a war going on. I guess it was kind of bizarre. There's only 2 shots fired in the capture of Guam because apparently, when the shots were fired, the brigade that was stationed at Guam thought it was just, hey, how's it going, like a salute shot or something like that. So that was, I don't know, kind of weird there. There's a small Spanish force stationed on Guam. They quickly surrendered, and Puerto Rico fell easily as well, but it did put up some resistance there. Okay, so that's the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam, which leaves us the Treaty of Paris. And don't worry, we will get to Cuba in a second because there's a couple of things that we need to add to Cuba. So, in order to end the Spanish American War, Spain granted independence to Cuba. So, the United States did not immediately take over Cuba. Spain gave the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam to the United States. The USA gave Spain 20 million. Now that is one heck of a deal if you think about how much land there is. But we'll see what happens in the future. Obviously, the Philippines become their own country later on. Well, with Cuba, very, very close to the United States. I mean, I think we said it's like 90 miles away from the tip of the Florida Keys. But after the Spanish American War, American influence, especially economic investment, remained very strong in Cuba. So American businessmen were saying, okay, look, there's an opportunity here. We are going to be able to invest here. We'll be able to make some money here. This is going to be great. So we're going to start investing in Cuba. At the same time, the Teller Amendment was passed, and it forbade the United States from annexing Cuba. So any thought that we were going to add Cuba as another state, immediately, nope, not going to do it because the Teller Amendment was passed. And so the United States says, okay, well, we have this huge investment. We're going to continue to invest in Cuba, and we're not going to annex. We're not really going to make it, part of the United States. So what are we going to do? How are we going to keep it under our control? And so, in order to maintain influence and control over Cuba, the USA arranged for the Platt Amendment to be passed. The Platt Amendment. And what did the Platt Amendment do? It said that the U.S. must approve any treaty that Cuba made with another country, that the U.S. can intervene when necessary in order to maintain independence for Cuba. So, meaning if someone wants to try to invade Cuba, then we will intervene to stop it. And finally, which still has its effects today, the U.S. to own and operate a naval base on the island called Guantanamo Bay. And this, of course, is still under U.S. control, even though Cuba is our, enemy, or not so much anymore. We have a military base within a country that is our enemy, and was our enemy. And I think a lot of people might remember Guantanamo Bay more for the place that we start to hold terrorists after 9/11, suspected terrorists after 9/11. There's been a lot of calls to shut it down. Other people say no. But it really hasn't been in the news quite as much. But at any rate, that is Cuba and the Platt Amendment. All right. Thank you so much.